Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So it's been a little while since we've done any BMW related videos. It's a bit of BMW central around here at the moment and there seems to be multiplying. Excuse the mess as per usual. So this is an engine which we need to prep to go in a car. So it's still got the gearbox on it, hasn't got the 90-degree throttle body adapter on it and a few other bits and pieces that we don't need. So we're going to work at getting this stripped apart and going to time-lapse a few bits, probably video a few bits up close and then stitch it all together and we'll see how it looks in the end. The main aim for today, we're going to get the gearbox off, we're going to get it on the engine crane, we're going to get the oil out of it, get the oil cooler off it because we're not going to use that oil cooler, change the filter, clean it up a bit, get the plugs out probably and go from there. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so we've got the engine up on the engine crane now. I've just quickly whizzed off the gearbox. Didn't bother filming that because there was only one bolt left holding it in anyway. So there's absolutely nothing you need to use off the gearbox, so we can do away with that, which has revealed the clutch as well. It doesn't look too bad in here. Normally this is filled with oil and clutch dust and whatever else, but it's not horrendous, so that's pretty good. There's a little bit of a couple of bits of exhaust manifold left on there, so we'll be whizzing them off in a minute. I took the alternator off as well. It's just 3 bolts up here to take that off, just so we can hang it on the engine crane from there, which is a good start. So what we're going to do next, we're just going to probably take the engine mounts off because we're not going to use them anymore, and we're going to look at removing these throttle body mounting points off the top here and a few other bits and pieces like that, just sort of stripping it down until the bits that we're not going to use really, and go from there. So let's get stuck in. Okay, a few more bits removed now. Got the engine mounts off, a couple of breather pipes, a couple of clips that we don't need. So next we're going to look at getting the oil drained out. Looks like there might be a little bit of oil in it, just at the bottom of the level there. So to do that, I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to film because my tripod's a bit worse for wear. We need to pop the sump plug out and pop this cover off here afterwards to gain access to the oil filter. And then we've got a special tool we're going to pop up in there to get the oil filter out. And we're also going to take the oil cooler pipes off while we're here as well. So let's get into it. Okay then, quick update on the K1200. So I've got the old oil filter out, and it's always really important that you make sure that the seals come with it. Quite often the seal can get stuck up inside here on top of where the filter goes. So yeah, always check that. I've got a new filter here. Sometimes I like to prime them. I don't think it's necessary, but I might just pour a bit of fresh oil in there before it goes in. I'm going to get a bit of brake cleaner up there and a bit of a rag, just make sure all that surface is nice and clean. This is the plate here that you have to remove to gain access to the oil filter, and there's a little O-ring in here. You can just see this one's obviously been squeezed flat. It's just a little bit proud. I always recommend changing that O-ring every time as a matter of course. Unfortunately, Motorworks keeps sending me the wrong one, so I don't have any in stock at the moment, which is quite frustrating. But I'm going to make sure I change it before I get this one back together. I've got a new aluminium ring for the aluminium sump washer for the sump plug. I've never had one leak, but again, just as a matter of course, it's nice to change it. So I'm going to whip this bracket off while I think about it. I'm going to clean it up under here, get a bit of brake cleaner in there, and make sure that this surface is nice and clean as well. And then we're going to refit it in reverse order. And if we get an O-ring, we might throw a bit of oil in it. So let's see how we get on now. Okay, so we've got all the oil filter done now. I'm going to look at removing the clutch now. So these bolts here are really important. They're M7 bolts. They're a little bit of a funny thread. You must keep those bolts and you must keep them in good condition. They like to round on the way out. The other thing you need from this clutch will be the 3 dowels that are in here. We'll need to knock those out after. And then once we've done that, we're going to look at fitting the new flywheel and the clutch, if we can find a friction plate, and then just rebuilding a few bits in reverse order, really. So I'm not sure how good my tripod's feeling at the moment, but we'll give it a go. Right, that was quite a short time lapse, really, but there we go. Better than listening to me waffle on. So I've removed 3 parts of the clutch here. I have no idea how this clutch works, really. I've never given it much thought, because it's not like a normal car clutch where I imagine you have to replace this as one piece, but oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I imagine that must be disengaged, and then yeah. Anyway, and this bit here, I've no idea what that does. That's part of the clutch basket. But the most important thing is this ring. You must remove this ring from the flywheel, and a lot of people don't. And if you don't, it comes flying out and it makes a big mess. And like I said before, oh, it's quite a lot of clutch stuff to this. We must remove these 3 dowels and fit them into the new flywheel. I'm going to clean that out because that stinks. Right, excuse the mess here. So we're trying to get these dowels out, and the best way I've found to do it is just to find a ledge, stick a socket over there, stick your drift, your punch in there, tap them out, and then jobs are good. And it's a silly thing to describe, but let's just see how this goes. That's it. It's out, and then again on the next one. 2, 1 more. There we go. All done. And there's your 3 dowels. You could always just buy some if you wanted to, but I always use the old ones. So we'll explain why these are important very shortly. Right, here is the new clutch and flywheel assembly. I say new. This one's obviously been kept underwater for a while, but it'll definitely go again. It's just got a bit of shit on it, that's all. So, someone's really gone and put the dowels in this flywheel. So that's totally beating me to it. I was quite surprised by that. So yeah, there's the dowels in there. So we've got 3 spare ones now. But anyway, that's where they go. And I suggest just putting them in with a little bit of Loctite just to keep them in place. You don't want those wobbling out. I have seen them before without the dowels in, but I made sure on that one that I found that didn't have any dowels in. I put them in quickly and got it rebuilt because it's built by someone else. So I'm going to just wire wheel this now, get all the rust off it, and then we can fit it to the engine. Okay, so here we are. So I've got, this is the BMW flywheel, also known sometimes as the clutch basket. I always call it BMW flywheel. And behind there's the rear main seal. Sometimes the rear main seals need doing. I do use some that I keep in stock. There's also a little O-ring behind here that often perish, but I'm due to the lack of oil leak around this area, I'm quite happy that it will go again. So I've got the bolts that I took out earlier from the clutch. the M7 ones that we discussed. We've got them down here ready. And I've got the new flywheel, and I've just put 2 bolts in it just to hold it in place. And now we're going to try and locate the dowels. One in there, one in there. You know when it's gone in right, because it just sits right like that. Yep, so we're happy with that. Fine. In we go with the first bolt. Some people like to Loctite these. I've never found a need, to be honest. They've got a little bit of Loctite on them from factory, but I've never had any come out. So because they're so easy to round, I don't see the need in having to Loctite them, because there's just more chance to make it round but coming out. I have left the little serrated washers on the end that came with the bolts, so that again should work as a Loctite device. Right, I'm not going to do them up with the gun. I'm just going to take up the slack, as I have actually rounded one of these before, doing them up with the gun many years ago. Now what I like to do now is I like to use a screwdriver to sort of hold the flywheel still. It says that as the engine's moving around, and then I just do these up by hand. You know when they're tight. There probably is a torque setting. I said this in my last video. Don't know what the torque setting is, but I'm happy to just do them up quite tight. You just get a bit of feel for it after being a mechanic for so long. Oh. This is probably something I'll check when it's not on the engine stand, but just for the purpose of this video. There we go. So we're going to check them when it's back on the floor, but I'm happy with that for the minute. We need to go and get a paddle clutch friction plate from Mark Maynard. So we're probably going to go and do that now, because they've got another engine over here that's waiting for one. So we'll go and buy a few of those, come back, put it together, and go from there. Okay, so I've just been out and bought some spark plugs. Now, the HT leads and spark plugs on this engine are a bit funny in the way that they all bend round like this, and only certain ones are the correct certain sort of lengths, and it's just a bit of a faff really. So what I recommend is just taking a picture before you start, just so you know where all the HT leads have to go and have to bend, just really to make it easier when it goes back together. Now I'm just gonna fit 2 with you now, and then I'm gonna time lapse the rest, so I'm not going on about nonsense. So I've been out and bought some new ones. If anyone wants the number, it's Delta Charlie Papa Romeo 7 Echo. Some of them come with the multi-prong ones, but these are just single prong ones that work just as good. It's a bit of a faff doing them up on the engine crane, but it's just the easiest way. I'm not strong enough to lift these engines onto a bench without some assistance, so we're just gonna do it like this. What's going on there? It's quite a long thread. Oh, okay. Is that the wrong size? Yeah. I think they're about 16 mil. They're a very small size, and you will need some very thin wall sockets to be able to get to the plug. There we go. They were 16 mils. Yeah, your standard 1/2 inch Halford socket set won't do it. You will need some thin wall sockets. There we go. So I'm just going to pop this back on here while it's rocking, which is always fun. There we go. You've got to feel for that click, and once it's clicked in, you know you're there. So we'll do number 1 now. This will be a better job. Oh gosh. That one was in there tight. Oh, that spark plug was quite loose. It's quite oily, that plug. It's not really what I was expecting to see. Anyway, I'm going to stick a new one in it. Right, I'm going to time lapse the rest of this now because you get the gist of it. Okay, so we're now going to start looking at cleaning up the top area here. So we need to remove these throttle body mountings in order to be able to fit the 90-degree throttle body adapter. So we're going to go ahead and start having a go at that now. Obviously it's important not to get too much crud in the engine, which is obviously the risk. So we're just going to start by running the wire wheel around here, just trying to get as much of this loose as possible, hoover it up, and then we'll go and start stripping the top apart. So let's crack on. Okay, so sorry about that time lapse, and the engine was a bit wobbly, but we're working with what we've got today, unfortunately. So I've got all those throttle body mountings off now, and I just want to try and get this lot as clean as possible. So what we're going to do is just going to take the sandpaper on a block, and I'm going to try and go in as many long strokes as I can, just to keep it all nice and flat. But at the same time, I just want to get all this lot spotless, so that when we come to bolt the inlet manifold adapter on, it all sits nice and flush. The aim of the game. Okay, back with the swinging engine. So I have covered this in my other videos, but what we're going to do now is we're going to try and line up the 90-degree inlet manifold adapter. I'm going to do that just by sticking one bolt in it. Now, as you may remember before, if you're watching this, you probably already know this, the injectors used to be on this side, and they've now moved them over to this side in this manifold adapter plate. So what we do need to do now is we just need to port the head ever so slightly. Just going to explain this off the tripod. So like I said before, the injectors used to be on this side, and due to that there is a small cutout just in there, just so that when the injector fires, the fuel goes straight into the head. And now, as you can see, if we look down the new injector hole, we've got a great big bit of metal in the way. So what we're going to do now is, we're just going to, I call it porting, but it's probably not. We're just going to, oh, come on camera, focus on that. We're just going to take away a little bit of metal down here, just so then when the injector fires through there, it's got a completely clear runway, channel, whatever you'd like to call it. I don't know what the technical term is. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, so we've got that loose. There's a little bit of wiggle room in this from left to right. It's mainly because that strap's holding it. So what I like to do then is I like to go and grab a very nice new Sharpie, which is my newest one. And then with the Sharpie down here, we're just going to mark... That was poor. Try that again. It's not the sharpest of Sharpies. So then when we take the inlet manifold off, we know pretty much where we've got to go. So right, let's pop this off now and have a look. So with that removed, we can now see where we want to sort of die grind, just to get that little bit out. And then we're essentially going to try and copy this sliver here on this side, but replicate it on that side. So when the injectors are firing this way, the fuel can go straight into the port in the head. So I'm going to stick it back on its trolley on the ground so it's nice and steady. We're going to get the compressor fired up, and I'm just going to time lapse this. I have covered it in my other video. What I use to do this job is I use a die grinder with one of these carbide bits on it. So let's get into it. Right then, so here we are. I've got my hoover ready to go. I've got the die grinder. We're going to do one of these at normal speed, and then we're going to go and do the rest on time lapse. So here comes the hoover. And we've tripped the power. Better go sort that. Right, power's back on. Try again. So then periodically I like to pop this on here, just have a little look down, line it up, have a little look down. Yep, I think that'll probably do it for those two. And do the same on the other four now. Okay, so we're nearly ready to fit the inlet manifold adapter now. Now I don't use the bolts that come out originally because they're too long. I use these ones, I think are M6 by about 20, I think they are. And when they drop in, you can see that they have just the right amount of thread sticking out. But when you use the standard ones, there's too much thread. So you'll need 8 of those, which I think they're about M6 by 20. And also, I have got a universal O-ring set here. But none of the O-rings are quite the right size. Most of them are either too big or too small. So all I do is I just take ones that's slightly too big and just cut them down, squeeze them into the gap, and just trim off the edge with my snips. It doesn't matter if you lose a little bit, because we're going to fill it with RTV anyway. Hopefully you can see this. There we go. So there's only a very small gap there, and if I'd cut it a bit better, it would have been even tighter. Let's have a look. Let's just do another one. Maybe a Stanley blade would be the better tool for the job, in fairness. Yeah, that's come together quite well. So we're just going to go ahead and do that for the rest of them, and then we'll join you back. Okay, so we talked about the M6 by 20, and these I think are probably M6 by 25, and these originally came from here and here and here and here. These are a little bit shorter than the ones that go in the coolant jacket, but if you cut the washers off the end, they're the perfect size for bolting this down to here, and they don't bottom out. If you use the ones that are too long, they bottom out too soon. So we're now going to put some black RTV on here, and we're going to get it stuck down. Right then, just finishing this off now. The final tweaks. There we go. So the next job now will be to fit the filler necks, which I've got here, lovely and freshly powder coated. Got the new bolts to go with it here as well. So once again, similar to before, take the filler neck, and I'm just going to look to fill this area here with sealant. RTV sealant. Don't know if you can see this or not. The idea is to just try and fill all the gaps. There we go, job done. There we go. So we'll stick us back on time lapse now, and we'll do the other three. So I've just cleaned the injectors up in the wash tank, put a little bit of grease on the end here. Hopefully they should slide in now. Oh, how tight. There we go. That's it, perfect, that's in there. So we've got a couple of brackets just to fit on here now, which maybe I should have done beforehand. But overall, that's we're really heading in the right direction now. I haven't painted the injectors or anything like that. I've just stuck them in the wash tank because they were absolutely covered in oil before. So yeah, starting to take shape now. Okay, so got the injectors bolted in now, the little brackets I mentioned earlier. So I'm now just going to look at cleaning up the throttle bodies. Now these are absolutely caked in dirt. The reason for this is this little breather over here that you can just see, crankcase breather I think that is, used to go to the airbox, which means used to go into here. Which means that everything just gets plastered in oil. So it appears this bike had cruise control, because you can tell because it's got 2 throttle cables. So I'm going to get all these brackets removed now, take off these rubber pipes, get it in the wash tank and get it cleaned up. Right, there we are. So that is cleaned up really nice. It was absolutely minging, so anything is better than it was before. They always seem to be minging. So I unbolted the little fast idle device just to get in behind everything and clean it all up. I've just got the vacuum pipe to refit now, and then we'll find some other rubbers to fit, because the rubbers that come off will be too big. So we'll give this a clean up now and then stick it back together. Okay, here we are. So this is the all the throttle bodies all cleaned up. And now top tip here, these rubbers are from an 1100, because the 1100 ones are the same size as these and the 1200 ones are not. 1200 throttle bodies are slightly bigger, but these 1100 rubbers fit really well. So look at that. Got that on there. Cool. Just need some really skinny dribbly clips to go on there to hold that down. I find if you use the standard ones, they all get in the way and you can't get to them to do them up and whatever else. So we're really getting somewhere near with this now. I'm going to have to go and pick up a clutch very shortly, and we can get all that end back together, and yeah, there won't be too much more we can do after that. So we'll just keep plodding away. Okay, so we've got our paddle clutch here, and we've got our input shaft. I'm going to slot that in there. And then we've got our micro pressure plate here. Line up the dowels. We've got one dowel there, one dowel there. On he goes. Here we go. There we go. We'll just quickly give that a check with the ratchet. Again, using a screwdriver just to wedge in here and keep it still. Yep, top job. Happy with that then. We've got my screwdriver back out. And now we are ready for the adapter plate. Should go on something like this. Look at that. Beautiful job. Let's get that bolted up. Right then, got the alternator and the adapter kit on. We're pretty much there now, really. I've got to do something with these exhaust studs because they're looking a bit worse for wear, but we might have to get some oxyacetylene on them. Really happy with how everything's gone. Unfortunately, we're missing the starter motor bracket, which is a bit frustrating. So I might have to try and make one of them at some point. But yeah, we're mostly there now, really. Could just do with an O-ring for that oil filter sump. And then we could put some oil in it and try and get a tune out of it. So, yeah, we'll keep cracking away now. But this is going to go on the shelf very soon. Well, I'm quite surprised by this, but I've just got a little bit of heat into this stud. And I've been winding it out with the mole grips. And I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that moving. Look at that. I can't believe how rotten it is in the middle, but it's mint up there. That's crazy, that is. So, yeah, I'm quite surprised by that one. But it's given me a bit of faith for the rest of them. So we'll get a little bit more heat into this now and see how many more of them will come out. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope this video was helpful to you. I actually filmed it a few months ago and totally forgot I had it until I found it by accident whilst going through my gallery. it's been nice to make another BMW video after so long. It's really spurred me on to make another video of my own BMW powered cars. So anyway, stay tuned for more.